Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Master Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. How is everybody doing today? It's nice to see all those smiley faces out there all across the United States and Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, and points north, south, east, and west of there. All the world's a circle. Hey, it's great to have you with us. Hope you guys had a good day today. If you didn't, of course, you know this is the place to come to be inspired, entertained, informed, educated, have a good time, because this is an all-around variety talk show that we started 440 episodes ago, which is hard to believe. Whenever I tell the guests and even my colleagues in television and radio that I've been doing this show and we've done about 440 episodes, I think it might even be more than that now. And we're just going along, banging them out, cranking them out, working hard behind the scenes to bring you guys some really cool episodes, something unique to what you find online, patterned after television shows and my work in TV and broadcast media and radio, with that old school style of the Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson style talk show with the warm modern vibe of today. And we bring back the lost art of conversation. We have viewer interactivity live. We are live right now from our studios, as we call them here, of JMS, the Jim Master Show Live. We're here in the greater New York tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, along the very hot southern New England coastline. Although it's not bad now, 82 degrees. We're on the coast here, so we have a nice coastal breeze coming in. But tomorrow and the next day, I think they said it's going to feel like it's 105 degrees and humid. Again, we're here on the shore, so that cools us off a little bit. I'm sure it's hot wherever you are, or maybe if you are in other points where it's winter, maybe you're getting a little snow. Wherever you are, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And thanks for all the great comments, all the lovity. And that's a word you hear bantered around a lot, because in the summertime last year, I said light, love, and levity has that bent with this show. And all of a sudden I said the word levity and you guys fell in love with it. So thanks for the tweets, the Instagram messages, the Facebook messages, the posts, all the love, the super chats, super stickers, the comments on our YouTube channel. It really means a great deal as we continue to grow by leaps and bounds. We have so many exciting things in store for all of you. We are working really hard behind the scenes, and you've probably seen some little tweaks here and there in production and graphics and other bits and pieces of our look as we are continuing to bring you the best product possible. It takes a lot of effort to do that, but we love doing that for all of you guys. And again, if you're not having a good day, hey, welcome to the place where we try to put some smiles on your face, and we always learn something new. We've got an amazing guest who's actually on the road with his family, taking his daughter around. They are sort of taking a look at some of the colleges and universities here in the United States. He happens to be right now in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are talking about, and we've been talking about this for a while now on the show. We welcome Dr. Tom Schneider. He's a wonderful author, too. We're going to talk about this riveting book that he penned that everybody's talking about. There it is there. The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man Surviving When Life Sucks. If that title doesn't grab you, I don't know what will. It's a memoir by Dr. Tom Schneider, who wants me to call him Tom. He's very casual, and we appreciate that. So he's going to join us in just a second. And again, he is a brilliant doctor, and his background and his life is extraordinary, worthy definitely worthy of a book. The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man is not based on a true story. It is a true story. More precisely, it's a memoir of dozens of Dr. Tom Schneider's true stories, from devilish schoolboy hijinks to death-defying heroics during his time in the military, and even a heated disagreement with his boss, the U.S. Surgeon General. You'll start reading this book, The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man, because you want to hear those stories. And of course, you will love them. But what you'll keep reading is the authenticity of Dr. Schneider's voice, the way he writes to you and only you, the way his jokes, maybe corny coming from somebody else, are actually funny and endearing coming from him. And then when you get to the final few chapters, you think there's no way Dr. Schneider can provide you with more value. You'll learn the basics of human health and wellness from someone who's learned them the hard way. Matter of fact, it's a miracle that Dr. Schneider lived to write this book. That he did is a testament to his fighting but humble spirit, and to his desire to live up to the true meaning of a profession like the one he's in. The word doctor originally comes from the Latin docere, and it does not mean to heal or to cure. It means to teach. The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man will teach you something about life, death, and the human spirit on every single page. And also, he is somebody who is a fighter, yet humble. He served as a fighter pilot in Vietnam and then decided to give medical school a shot. With a humble and common sense approach to health and wellness, he practiced medicine at the likes of Bethesda Naval Hospital, Harvard University, and the National Institutes of Health as well. And he's our very special guest in just a second right here on the show. First, we want to welcome our viewers. We're very interactive here on the show. We like to get interactive with the viewers, and we've got a fascinating conversation coming up in just a second. So let's check in. Of course, we say welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. Hello to all the lovelies watching around the world. We would love it if you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the channel you're watching right now, Jim Masters TV. Subscribe to it. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our amazing content, our live episodes, our surprise pop-up shows. We do those as well, where I just pop on and we do chats, host and viewer live chats about life and all kinds of cool things. Very interactive here on the show. Also, while you're on YouTube, give this episode a thumbs up, a like, and drop a comment underneath this video, this episode on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We would absolutely love that. Check out during live chat the super stickers and super thanks and all the fun things that are happening there. Share the lovity. Tell your friends about the Jim Masters Show Live. Keep spreading the word as you guys do. We would really appreciate that. Let's check in with some of our viewers, our lovities around the world. Jane is watching in Sweden, and Jane says, hello, all lovely friends, and dear Jim. Nice to see you in Sweden. I know it's late for you there, late in the hour, but we really appreciate you being with us. Jane, Maureen is here. She's in the medical field as a nurse as well in Arizona. She says, happy Wednesday, dear Jim and lovelies everywhere. I actually got out of work on time today, first time all week. So I'm on time for tonight's conversation with Dr. Schneider. Can I get a woohoo? Woohoo. Maureen in Arizona, Alessandra watching in North Carolina. Hi, Jim and my lovely family, all the lovely family. Good to see you as well, Alessandra. We love it. And then all the lovelies love to say hello to each other too, which I think is cool. Kathy Short watching in Cleveland, Ohio. She checks in and she says, good evening, Jim and lovelies. It's nice to be back after a long, fun weekend. And Maureen says, yay, I'm so excited. Thank you. You're very welcome. We love it and cool stuff. More coming in here from the Peanut Gallery. Merlin in Ontario, Canada says, good evening, Jim and all lovelies. Good to see you as well. Jane says, welcome, Dr. Lovety Tom. I told him about the whole lovety thing and how it just happened to happen. And he says it's a great idea. He loves it. He's into it. And that's really, really cool. You shared this episode on your Facebook and Twitter. Terrific. I appreciate that. Maureen says she loves this squad. This has been like family. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You guys are really terrific, and it's all wonderful to see all these great comments. So relaxing. This makes you feel like home. I really appreciate that. And Cynthia Catherine Howard in Washington, D.C. This is a perfect title. Thank you very much for being here as well. We love seeing you here. and everybody that's watching. And more people will chime in a little bit later on, and we'll check in with some of the other comments that are coming in as well. Let's see. Maureen says, get ready to shower. Dr. Schneider with the levity. Oh, he's waiting for it. So happy to welcome you into the family. And Wozniak is here in Jacksonville, Florida. She says, happy Wednesday evening, Jim and Levity family. A very special welcome to Dr. Schneider. I don't know. He's going to be bowled over with all this greeting and levity coming his way, but he's ready for it. Big hugs to you all from Cynthia in Washington, D.C. And good evening, Jim and the levities, and welcome Dr. Schneider. We appreciate that as well. Let's see. Alessandro welcomes Dr. Schneider. He's now part of the Levity family. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Doc, to Levity Hall. This is going to be one great show tonight. Oh boy, we got our work cut out for us. Absolutely, it is, and everybody that's here, and I think Juanita is in here as well, somewhere in there. South Africa is reporting for duty as well, and everybody else. So, as I mentioned, Dr. Schneider is absolutely amazing. The book is a page turner. It is riveting. The title alone, "The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man Surviving When Life Sucks." I mean, it's to the point and it's accurate. And let's bring him on to talk about it live from Indianapolis, Indiana. He gets around. Doctor, welcome to the show, or I should say, Tom. Tom, welcome to the show.
Jim, I can't thank you enough. I promise you, I feel so part of this Lovity family. I'm going out. I'm going to have a hat made that says, I love it, Lovity. I'm
I
going to
love
be a
that.
new member of the Lovity family. It's a great
That
honor. I
is
really mean that. Thank you.
my pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. And it's an honor to have you. Thanks for all of your service as well. I mean, no small feat, the work and the task at hand that you've been involved in your career choice. And we appreciate that. You've
Well,
lived and
thank you.
continue to live an extraordinary existence, huh? I don't think you could have ever scripted it.
Well, I'm not sure anybody would want to script this life, but it keeps the blood flowing. Let's say that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
continues. Mhm.
What was it about the medical field for you early on that inspired you to want to dip your toes into it and get as immersed in it? Obviously, it's a beautiful field to be in, and it's not the easiest of fields, but you've been in it. And how does it speak to you? What is it about wanting to care for people and do this extraordinary work you do, Tom?
Yeah, probably the most poignant question you could ask me. It really involves two sides of me. The one was as a youth, troubled youth in a very, very strange family. Um, every family probably is dysfunctional. Mine was extraordinarily so, to where I had to leave home. I left home and ran away. And that's another whole aspect that we could talk about. But I was an angry, angry young man because of that, because of the family, and did lots of things that I'm certainly not proud of, but lived in the Bronx and stole and arrested and all those kinds of wonderful things. And then went to Vietnam and as a fighter pilot and saw and, in my opinion, participated in some of the worst atrocities that we as a country were involved in. And that really took its toll on me, Jim. So when I came back, I was at test pilot school in Patuxent River, and the Jesuit schooling that I'd had sort of sunk in finally and said, it's time to grow up or get out. And I
Yeah.
thought, what do I want to do with my life? Now, I had been a terrible student. I've been to the best schools, Jesuit schools, but academically had not done well. So I actually took courses. Uh, I guess they would be called homeschooled, and in courses that I had flubbed, math, chemistry, physics, and decided I'm going to make a difference. How do I want to feel when I die? Because
Mm.
as a fighter pilot, I was being touted by the airlines to come fly with them at that time. The
Oh,
war was
yeah, sure.
over. Yeah. And I thought, do I want to, on my dying bed, say, I was a bus driver in the sky? Not that there's anything wrong with being a bus driver or a pilot. But do I want that, or do I want to say, this is what I was able to do, even for one person, even for one? And I said, that's what I want to do. So I studied and applied to medical school at test pilot school, and Georgetown was nice enough to say, he's a loser, but let's give him a chance. And so I went in, and not to control the conversation, but in my probably first or second year, Jim, I was rotating with an elderly doctor. By elderly, I mean he was probably younger than I am right now. So I'm 77. He was probably 65 or 66. Had been at Georgetown for a long time, and said on a rotation that they said, "Oh, you've got Dr. Wilson." I said, "Yes." And, "Oh, he's a loser." Really? Yeah,
Mm.
he's old. He's okay. So I worked in his clinic. I think it was a 3-week rotation, and was watching him perform. He spent so much time with patients. I was used to the hustle bustle, let's go. And I asked him once, I said to him, what's the secret? Your patients love you. They come back. You spend a lot of time with them. And he said this to me that I never forgot. He said, don't look at the dollar, and remember that patients do not care what you know until they know that you care. Now
Mm.
that was
Wow, that's a
40
turnaround
years
moment.
ago,
That is a
45, 40,
turnaround moment.
50 years ago. I never forgot it. Yeah. So that's why I drive a 2003 Honda Pilot. I was able to look at the dollar very well, and why I stayed in the military.
Hondas are
Uh,
good cars. They'll last forever if you
that's
take care.
great.
Just change that oil.
That's, that's right. So that kind of change in my life. Some would say, "Oh, you were trying to repent for your prior." It really wasn't. It was suddenly realizing what a love there was in giving, and forget the taking kind of part of it. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
It does. It really, really does. The extraordinary experiences that you're sharing for us right now, they are life changing.
Hmm.
You mentioned the family background not necessarily being the best, and some of the things that got out of your system as you were going along. What was another pivotal time in
Oh,
your life or opportunity or moment, whether it's something you discovered yourself or somebody again said something to you and showed you the light, that sort of took this guy that was looking for this, that, and the other thing and figuring himself out? Who is Tom? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to get out of life? And then sort of put it back on the track going in a
uh,
forward trajectory.
another great one, and probably I will say this was one of the most pivotal moments in my life. Happened when I was a teenager, and I was at a prep school in the Bronx, Fordham Prep School,
Fordham, yeah.
which is a Jesuit school. And I love the Jesuits. For those who don't know, they're a type of priest who are extraordinarily academic. But I was street smart, street savvy, running away, stealing things in the Bronx, trying to make money, and still going to the prep. And I ran away from home about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before graduation. Now, to put that in perspective, I want you to know that my father, who I despised at the time, in the book, I call him Russ, and I call my mother Ellen. I don't call them mom and dad. So Russ went to Fordham Prep. His brother went to Fordham Prep. His father went to Fordham Prep. And now here's his ne'er-do-well son at Fordham Prep, who ran away from home and left school, didn't graduate. My parents went to the graduation. Of course, I wasn't there, and my name was not called, and which was devastating for them. Now, here's the kicker, Jim. So I was working at country clubs in Westchester, caddying. I was hitching. I was doing all sorts of different things. And pretty soon, towards the end of summer, everybody was leaving for school. They were all going to college and doing whatever they were. And I sat there. I was living in a boathouse, actually near a pool, one of the country clubs in Westchester. So I got worried. I said, what am I gonna do? I gotta do something. I've got to get to college, but I can't without a college diploma, without a high school
Mm,
diploma,
a high school diploma.
a high
Yeah.
school diploma. So I went back to Fordham in August, and I went in, and this is the pivotal moment. I actually went in filthy, bathing suit. I don't know what I was wearing, and I walked in, and Father Eugene O'Brien. I don't mind using their names because the whole book is for real. Eugene O'Brien was the headmaster, and I walked in and I sat down, and he said Thomas. He called me Thomas, not Thomas.
Yeah.
He said, Thomas, what can I do? And I told him my situation, and he said, you didn't go to graduation because you didn't take your final exams. I said, I know, Father, but I was passing going in, and I just needed a diploma to go to college. I'm lost. I have no parents. I have no money. I'm a waiter, and he said, well, that's not a problem. And he literally reached down into his drawer and pulled out a blank diploma and put it on his desk. This is God's honest truth. And I was elated. I was, in my mind, I was, yes,
Yeah.
there is a God. And
Yeah.
this is the best day of my life. And he took a pen. It was a Schaefer pen, the kind that you used to draw up the ink from. You're probably too
Oh,
young to
yeah.
remember,
Oh, I
but
remember
anyway,
now.
and he said, yeah, it's Thomas, and R, isn't it R? Yes, Father. Schneider, Schneider. I'll just sign this, Tom, and you've got the diploma from Fordham Prep. What more could a young, petrified, homeless kid want? And he stopped. And he
Mm.
said, before I sign it, may I ask you a question? Oh, ask me anything, Father. Whatever, I'm at your disposal. He said, who do we graduate from Fordham Prep? Oh, I thought it was going to be like Avogadro's number or the speed of light. No, this was just a simple question. Who do we Oh, you graduate boys. It's all boys. No, Tom, we don't. Really? Well, let me try again, Father. Catholic, Christian boys. No, that's not who we graduate either. He said, may I tell you? I said, oh, please. He said, Tom, we graduate men. And do you know what men do? They take responsibility for their actions. This is word for word, Jim. I'm
Mm.
not making.
Yeah.
I said, yes, Father. He said, so you made a decision and it's had a devastating effect on you. I can sign this diploma right now and you will walk out of here and go to college. Or you can leave as one of the true men leaving Fordham Prep without a diploma and take responsibility for your actions. You tell me.
Mm. Mm.
And he
Mm.
said, do you want me to sign this? And I literally, I get teary thinking about it because it's like yesterday. And I broke down crying and held on to my face and just shook my head. I couldn't even say, no, don't sign it. I was so devastated. And he said, and you'll do well. And I got up and I left. I never graduated from high school. To this day, I don't have a high school diploma. But that moment was absolutely pivotal. That's what forced me another route to where I did get into college. I enlisted in the Navy. And then when I finished, my chief said to me, listen, you're enlisted, you've got good eyes. How'd you like to fly? I said, sure, Delta, Eastern, sure, any of them. I'm good. Southeast, they're all good airlines. He said, no, for the Navy. I'm just teasing. For the Navy, and we'll send you to Pensacola, and you'll fly jets. I was so removed from the real world, Jim, other than surviving.
Yeah.
I really paid no attention to if I become a fighter pilot, I'm going over to Vietnam, and that's a war.
Hmm.
Never, it was, this is an opportunity for me to go somewhere. Somebody's going to feed me. Somebody's going to give me a small salary every month. Yes, that's what I'll do. So I did.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
that's how I ended up in Pensacola as a fighter pilot.
That's
Not a good
amazing.
one. Not a good one. I got shot down twice.
Did you?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And what did that
Yeah.
teach you?
That taught me that flying was not the way to go, but hey, medicine sounds good.
So, the book itself is quite amazing, and it what is really cool about it is this running theme throughout, where it can really, even when the chips are down and when things don't seem, like they're going in the right direction, and we've certainly had a lot of that over the last
Oh
17,
boy.
18 months.
Hmm.
The book sort of restores faith in life and in living, and in savoring every moment. And the moments aren't going to be perfect. They're not always going to be like a 22-minute TV show where the endings are always sweet and ideal. That it's how we react and how we respond to living,
Exactly.
and the reaction to it, and those teachable moments that help us grow as people. So you had all of these different obstacles and various things thrown at you, and some of them you might have even created on your own. But yet, with all of that, still were able to move forward in a way and a trajectory that taught you a lot of things about life, and about not just life, but about living. And the book, as you go through and you open up as authentically as you do, takes people through that journey in a way that is raw and real, but has hope. And people might not have a story that's exact to what is in the book that you have, but there might be similarities just in terms of struggles and strife, and happy moments and things that happen in our lives, that some we can control and some we cannot control. And I think that's what's cool about this read, is this restoration of faith. And I think there's a lot of people that are in need of and looking for that, especially now, Tom.
I can't agree with you more. And I would only add, because I was asked once, how do you survive? It's surviving when life sucks. How do you survive when things get rough? And how did you learn to do it? And it really was no credit to me, and I'm not sure what happened. But when I was growing up, I told you it was a rough family, and both of my parents were ill, mentally ill. And so my father used to become very physically abusive, as was my mother. And I think there were two ways to look at it. So when he was taking a belt to me, I could sit there and cry and say, "Oh, poor me." And I'm not sure why this happened, Jim, but I developed instead an anger that said, "Go ahead, try and break me. Go ahead. You can burn me, but you cannot break me. Why don't you try it harder?" And that continued with me throughout life. So when I was shot down in Vietnam, the feeling was, poor me. That would have been one. The other was, bring it on. Bring it on. You can't take me.
That
And
lit a
that,
fire in you. Yeah.
it did, in all of those situations. It was, and so I've used that with my I have two children who are both physicians. They're in their 40s, and my daughter, who I'm on tour with at 16, my adopted
Yeah.
daughter from China. Always the same thing. I've always said, I've always used that this is your life, and so don't look for the pill. I'm depressed now. I have to preface this: chemical depression, antidepressants, any way that you can get help, yes. My teaching philosophy for me was, you're responsible. I never said to my children, or would I say, how was your day when they came from? It was terrible, Dad. The teacher yelled at me. I didn't have. I said, oh, so you made it a bad day. No, she's the one that made it a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to hear that. You made it a bad day. So why don't you try tomorrow? You know what a bad day's like. Why don't you change it tomorrow? Do something different. Anything. I don't care whether it's walk around the block and join a team. Do something to make it different because you're responsible for this,
Right.
not somebody else. There is no supplement that you can take that's going to make your life stronger, better, your face clean. It doesn't exist. It has to be you. And this sounds terribly harsh. I think a lot of your viewers would be upset with me in this, but I had an awful lot of medical things go wrong because I landed in Agent Orange, and a lot of people don't understand Agent Orange, but it was a toxin that was in Vietnam, and it went into your bone marrow, and it causes a slew of diseases. And I tell people, name a disease, and pregnancy is not one. I didn't have pregnancy, but name a disease, and I've had it. I mean, it doesn't matter what, sepsis, bypass, atrial, it doesn't matter. All of them I've had. Insulin, diabetes, every single one of them I have and still do have. But I'm 77. I work out every day. I row. This is not, oh, let's applaud Tom, because it doesn't matter to me whether you do it or you don't. It's what's kept me alive. It was my responsibility. So when things went badly, I never was never allowed to say to myself, it's their fault. It was the Navy's fault. It was my parents' fault. They mistreated me. No, it was fall down 3 times, get up 4. Stop getting up, call it a day. You're done. You've got to keep moving and make yourself better. I know that sounds harsh, but
But it's
literally,
true. It's really
it's
true. Nobody's going
it
to do
real.
it but you.
Yeah, I mean, I remember lying in the hospital after my bypass surgery, and my chest was split open, and I've got tubes in me every which way. And I was a physician, so I knew exactly what was going on.
You knew
And
what was
and
happening.
people,
Yeah.
oh, and people would come in and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was lying in the bed going, "I'm so sorry." That translates to me, "Ooh, I'm sure
Mm.
glad that's you and not
And
me
not
lying
me.
there."
Right.
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 And I don't mean
Right.
that harshly. They're
No, but
kind, but
it's, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's literally, it's my problem. I'm glad that you're here. And all you have to do is touch my hand. Just touch my hand. Let me know you're there. It means the world to me. But only I can deal with this pain. Only I can get out of this bed. And I said that to my patients as well, who would come in, and they all wanted and are all looking for, and I think most of us are, I don't know anybody, we're all looking to be happy.
Yeah.
How do we get to be happy? And when you want, I'll give you the formula for that I use for being happy.
I'd love to hear it now. Everybody get
Okay?
your notepads, get your pen and paper.
Yeah.
This is important. Here we
Yeah.
go.
If you have an iPad, you're better than I have
That's
one, but
right.
only my daughter
Watch this
knows how to
show in the
turn it
archives. Yeah. Share the links to
on.
this episode, gang. Lovities.
So yeah, because whether patients were coming in and they were wanting a facelift, or they were in a bad marriage, or name a problem, it doesn't matter. The overall goal was, I want to be happy. And they wouldn't come out and say it, but I would present them with that. I would say, how'd you like to be happy? Oh, I'd give anything. My husband doesn't. Okay, okay, okay. I don't want to hear about your husband. How would you like to be happy? I can't make him happy. How about you? Yeah, 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 that'd be fun. I said, I've got a simple formula for you. So easy. It's gauge. GAGE. Really? What does it mean, Doctor? Okay, I'm going to tell you. The first G stands for giving. So when you wake up in the morning, your goal should be to give. Now, I don't mean write a check to the Red Cross. Go ahead and do that if you want. I mean give. Give of yourself to, ready? The unseen. Now, who are the unseen? To me, the unseen is the gal or the guy behind the Publix where I live. It's a Publix grocery store, who's going beep, beep, beep. Did you find everything you like, sir? Beep, beep. No, I was looking for the lottery ticket winnings, and I was looking for a jacket, like a 44 extra long with the leather and the. We don't have those. I'm sorry. Or asking me, how am I doing? I said, I think I'm doing okay, but I might have a cavity. Can you look? It's up here in the upper right. And they're taken aback, but then they laugh because it's
Right.
other than beep, beep. Now, why do I see the unseen? Because 100 people will go through there, listening to beep, 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 but never say anything. How are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. Fine, Fine, stands for feeling ill near everybody. That's what fine means to me. It's feeling ill near everybody.
And because when
So
people say it, they don't say it fine. They go, fine,
fine. Right.
fine.
Exactly. Exactly. So my line usually, and it's not a line, I really mean it. If somebody says to me, how you doing? I go, you know what? I'm better for having seen you today. And I
Mm,
really mean it because if I wake up with my medical problems, I'm delighted to see anybody,
right.
but I'm happy to see them. I've never had anybody say, that's baloney or nah.
Mm,
Every single one is thrilled.
that's
So, G,
incredible.
giving,
Giving.
giving in some way, shape, or form. The A is the toughie. I don't have it down yet, but I'm working on it every day. I've been
That's the
doing
key is you're
it.
working on it. That's the key.
Yep, you're exactly right. So A means acceptance.
Mm,
And by acceptance, it means nobody promised you an easy life. Life just is not easy.
right.
You are not going to have what I had. You didn't land in Agent Orange, but you're going to have something. You're going to break a leg or you're going to it's going to get all of us in some way, shape, or form. How do you accept it? How do you learn to breathe through it? Just breathe. Because what you're worried about right now, my 16-year-old, is she going to get into college? A year from now, I won't ever remember thinking that because she'll
She'll be
be
in.
happy, she'll be making away. It will go away. So accepting, because that phrase that's used so often, I don't, we say it, but nobody really takes it in, is this too shall pass. Oh, we've
Shall
all heard that,
pass.
Tom. We've all heard that.
Right.
No, take it in because it is the blood of your life. It will pass and you will move on. And you're responsible for making yourself move on from that. But it's a toughie. I mean,
Mm,
I'm glib right now, but trust me, I've been
but
there.
it's
The checks come in. Where's the tuition going to come from? Oh, you're a doctor. No, I was a military doctor. we didn't, we don't drive Lexus. Um, so so acceptance is a really, really key part of this whole happiness thing. The next G, it is gratitude.
big.
So big, it's so big, and I'm going to take you to a little spot on that as well. But gratitude of, and I got this because lying in an ICU, there was a machine next to me going up and down. There was a tube in me that I wanted to gag out that was making me breathe over an incision that just the pain was doesn't matter. It's gone. But I would sit there, and to this day, I don't lie. There isn't a day that at some point I actually intellectually stop. I did it when I was taking our luggage out up into wherever I am now, motel, whatever, Motel 2. I'm in Motel 2, Jim. I didn't get to the 6. So, but I
Two plus
stopped.
four.
Yeah, exactly. And and I take 1, 2 breaths, literally. I go, oh, sweet Lord. That smells so good. I think it's dust. It is air going
But
into your
even
lung.
dust smells good when
Oh,
you have a tube
when
down
you
your
haven't,
throat and
exactly. So, gratitude for breath, gratitude for absolutely everything is absolutely key. The more you can be grateful for, the happier you're going to be. Now, there's people say, okay, GAG, what's the E for? Well, it's a math formula. GAG, draw line E. If you do G, gratitude. If you do A, acceptance. And if you do G, give, draw the line, you will have enjoyment. The E is for enjoy. I promise you, you will guarantee, just like if I wrote you a prescription, it will make life enjoyable, because here's what happens. If you do that, the world no longer revolves around you or me. You see what I'm saying? In other
Yeah.
words, it revolves around you. It revolves around Jim. Well, how are you liking the show, Tom? It doesn't matter. How's Jim enjoying it? He's loving it. He does 440 shows of this. He's a happy guy. Really? Yeah. That's what counts. The world doesn't revolve around me. All I can do is add a little oil by making someone smile, doing something gentle. And I know that sounds all corny, but
No, it's
after
terrific.
after 77 years, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, and
Lucky seven.
it is lucky seven. You know, my wife and I were. I have two children, as I mentioned, and my wife has one from a prior marriage, has a 27-year-old as well. And I took her to the Grand Canyon, and we saw a number of little children, Asian children, being there. And my wife said to me, "You know the thing I miss most?" I said, "No, what?" She said, "I wish that we could have raised the child together." Well, we can. She said, "No, that would be the Immaculate Conception. I've had a hysterectomy," whatever. So I said, "Okay."
Immaculate Conception.
I
Yeah.
said, "We could adopt." And there was automatically this momentary panic, literally, which he went, "He's serious. This guy would actually, at his age, he would adopt." I think it was, what am I now, 77? So I was 60 at the time, 61. And she said, "Well, that's a little worrisome, or, you know, you're a little older, I'm older, and yeah, that's a big deal." I said, "Well, I still have friends in the State Department, and we could have some connections, and we could probably adopt some from China." And she was still a little panicked. True story, got to tell you, I don't know, karma, I don't know what it is. I walked into a little, on the Grand Canyon, a 7-Eleven made of logs. Like, all right, make it realistic. I walked in, and my wife said, "I'm going to grab a magazine." She went back there, and I went up to the counter, and I was flipping through some sheets that said, you know, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, I couldn't." And I came across one that was pretty long, and I picked it up, and I said, "Wow, what is it?" And I won't bore you with the whole story, but essentially, it's a story of a businessman who is at a conference at a beach, and he looks down at the beach, and there's an elderly woman, and she's down at the shoreline, bending over, picking up a starfish and threw it into the water. Another step, bent over, picked up another one, threw it. And a lot of your listeners have probably, viewers have heard this, but I love the story. And pick up another one, because there's a point in the year when, for some reason, starfish come up on the beach.
Right.
So he felt badly for him. He went down in his clothes, obviously in his clothes, in his business clothes, and he tapped her and he said, "Ma'am, I'm really sorry to bust your bubble, but this beach is 9 miles long. There are literally millions of starfish. You're not going to make much difference." And she picked up the starfish, threw it in the water. You know the end of this story. And she said, "I made a difference to that one."
Right. Right.
So that's this laminated. I said, "Honey, this is kind of weird, but you might want to read this." I just picked it up and heard. She read it, started to cry, and said, "I think we need to find our starfish." And so for a year and a half, we did just that. And now we have our own starfish who's looking at colleges, and I'm in Motel 2.
Did you get the short end of the stick, or what? I'm in a Motel too.
I did. I think I did. Oh my
Anybody ever
goodness.
tell you look a little like Bob Dole?
You know, somebody did. Somebody said Bob Dole, and
Little like Bob Dole. Yeah, a little bit.
somebody said Humphrey Bogart.
I
My
see
daughter says
Bogart. Yes.
my daughter says I look. No, I can't say that. Not on television. She was not complimentary.
She
No, she
wasn't.
just says, "Hey, doofus." No, really.
That is funny.
But Dole, yes.
The
Yeah.
question is, did you answer to that, or
I answer to anything.
that's
I had the
anything?
pleasure of meeting Bob Dole many
Did
years
you?
ago. Well, I worked at Bethesda, so
Right.
in the Navy. So all of the old timers, Bush and Dole, they all came
Yeah.
there for treatment. It's
You
quite a
know,
pleasure.
there's so many different things in the conversation, you know, that are very surprising. I think to the readers too. A little bit of a sort of like an altercation, I guess, with the U.S. Surgeon General involving
Yeah.
the job. Tell us about that. I mean, you've had things happen to you that you'd see like in a Lifetime movie or something.
Right. Right. I think the first one that was a little scary, that I'll just take a second of and just shut me off because I'll go till midnight, but then I've got to have my pacifier. Um,
You're with the
so
right crowd too.
yeah, right. So in Vietnam, one of the things that happened that was a little worrisome that shows you the problems that can happen in the military. I was flying, and there was a lieutenant commander who was flying a different kind of plane that I flew, and he was dropping off boxes called 50/50s, and they were supplies for 50 men for 50 days, and they were all healthy, cigarettes, gum, all the terrible things. And he would fly out to various fields where the troops were, where the grunts were in the ground, and drop these boxes off for them. And when we landed, and I said, sure, I'd love to go because I hadn't flown in this aircraft before. I said, sure. So I went. When we landed back in Tan Son Nhut, the city of Saigon for you all, and I was getting out of the plane. I said, thanks so much. He said, fine. Was getting out. I saw two boxes in the back of the aircraft. So I went to him and I said, Commander, sorry, but we've got two boxes in the back. We must have missed a place. And he said, it's none of your business. You're done. Day's over. Go.
Mm, mm,
Which set me a little on fire. Long and the short of
yeah.
it was, I talked to some Navy chiefs who were working on the aircraft. I said, what's going on there? He said, sir, you don't want to get involved in it. I said, well, now I do. And I waited, and a couple of the enlisted men put those in jeeps, took them downtown Saigon, where they were sold for $2,000. This is back in 1968. Yeah, $2,000 a box. So what I was upset with now, and as a young flyer, was those are grunts out there who are waiting for their cigarettes, their life saving. They're not getting them, but this guy is making $2,000 a box.
Mm,
So I had to decide whether to report him or not, and I did. And I ended up getting shipped up to a Marine base because I was told, I didn't know this, I was so naive. Now you got to go because this was a sort of a cartel that lieutenant commander plus about 8 enlisted were making a ton of money. And now that I had done this and the National Investigating Service was involved, that my life was at risk,
mm.
which anyway, so I stayed with the Marines for 7 weeks to finish out my tour and then went back to the carrier. So that just tells you the kind of crazy and obviously evil that can take place in what would otherwise be a fairly heroic and um, honorable field. You know, but nonetheless, I came back and I went to medical school. And after a number of different fields that I was trained in, I ended up as the commanding officer of the Navy Hospital in Pensacola. And I went there, uh, and I had a 4-year commitment to do that. I mean, I was retired. I wasn't retired. I was of retirement age, but I took this and said, yeah, 4 years, I'm happy to get the hospital straight. There was a number of things that were wrong. Anyway, I took it over, and without getting into all of the politics involved, the then Surgeon General was in a little bit of trouble because the line of the military, line meaning the tank drivers, the boat
Mhm.
drivers, the real guys, not lawyers and doctors who are in there. These are the real Navy. Uh, they were very upset because the Navy was sending them young doctors who didn't know how to salute. They didn't know ranks. They didn't know anything other than medicine. And it really drove the line officers nuts. So came out at the Surgeon General and said, "This has got to stop, fix it, or it's a big slur on you, and we'll get rid of you, whatever." So he looked around and said, "I need somebody to intervene. I need somebody to come up and intervene with the Marine Corps and with the Line Navy who understands them." Well, that would be Captain Schneider, because I was a line officer, an aviator with a whole bunch of Vietnam ribbons and some wings, which made me look like a line officer, but I was a physician as well. So that was a rare combination. And so he called and said, "You've got about 2 weeks to pack your bags and move up to Washington, D.C. and take over as my adjutant." And I said, "Thank you very much. It's an honor, sir, but no, I'm going to have to turn that down. My kids are in high school here. I bought a house here, and I retire for real in about 2.5 years. So I still have 2 more years on this commitment." He said, "I don't care what you have." And this is where that young rage, that young anger was stoked. And he said, essentially, you get your derriere, out of politeness, up here in 14 days, or I'm sending you out on a carrier for the next 3 years, an aircraft carrier.
Mm.
That kind of upset me. It just said,
kind of,
"Yeah, this is not going well."
yeah.
So I tried to call him back and to say, "Listen, we've had a misunderstanding,"
Yeah,
but his
at
then
least.
underling said, his underling said, "Captain Schneider, he doesn't want to talk to you. He wants to see your face in 14 days." And I was furious because it was taking advantage to enhance his career with the line. He was taking advantage of me.
Mhm.
Well, so what? That's what you do in the military. You get taken advantage of. Yeah, but I had enlisted troops at that hospital. I had other doctors. I had nurses. I had corpsmen. Who do they go to? What happens if somebody pulls this on them? So I said, "No, can't let this happen." So I made a quick call for an appointment with the Secretary of the Navy. So for those who don't know, there's the president, the vice president, the Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Army, etc. But they're that high up, and what they say goes. It so happens that the then Secretary of the Navy, and I'll be polite and not use his name because he's still alive and well, and I love him to death for doing this, happened to have been a patient of mine at Bethesda years before. And I called him, told him the situation. He said, "Fly up." I flew up. I sat with him and two Marines and one Navy captain as they took all the notes. And I said, "This is what happened. This is what my contract says. My contract says I stay here and finish it." And he said, "I'm going to look into it. If all of the facts are stable, I'll get back to you." 24 hours later, he had sent me a note on my desk by courier that said, "Decide, either retired now with full benefits, full retirement and honors, or come up and join the Surgeon General. It will be your decision." So I knew at that point I had no choice. It was you don't overstep the Surgeon General and go to the Secretary of the Navy and then go on to successful. I had a fabulous career. I'd been 26 years in, and so I literally said, "Okay, I am retiring as of now," and I did.
That is amazing. What a story. I mean,
Yeah,
God,
interestingly, he called me when that about a week later, he called me
did
and I
he?
took the call. Yes, he did. And I took the call and I said, "Yes, Admiral, what can I do?" And he said, "Listen, Tom, we must have a misunderstanding. Hey, I wasn't trying to bring you up here under any, I want you to be the next Surgeon General. That's exactly what I want. So that next Surgeon General spot is yours." And I said, "Well, I
Mm.
thank you so much, but of course, I've already made my decision, Admiral, so I'm going to stick to it." But he did call, and no cursing, just okay. Have a
Right.
good life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Keep
a very
going and
scary
going.
time though. A very scary time because that was that could have been a Leavenworth kind of a problem.
You also, had affiliation with Harvard University and the National
Mhm.
Institutes of Health. And the National Institutes of Health, they've certainly had their work cut out for them of late with everything going on with pandemics and so much
They
more.
have. Mhm.
Really extraordinary. What was it like working with them?
It was really an honor, and I'll give you a little background. So the college that I have to go back a second, and I apologize to the audience for this. So I had no high school diploma, as I told you. How did I get into college? Probably one of the last faux pas that I made, although it wasn't a faux pas. It was, I was street savvy. It was a question of survival. So I literally hitchhiked up to Massachusetts to a college, Holy Cross College
Oh,
in
yeah.
Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester, yeah.
Yeah. And I knocked on the door and met Father Joe Donahue, who said, "Yes, son, what did you want?" I said, "I want to become a Jesuit priest." Now, in all truth and honesty here, 50 years, 60 years later, I wasn't even thinking of the possibility of becoming a priest. But after a long discussion, they accepted me as a novitiate, as a learning Jesuit. Now, it lasted about a year and a half. And at one point, Father Donahue knocked and said, "Thomas, yes," he said, "you've made a mistake. This is a vocation, not a vacation."
Mm,
Really? Okay,
yeah.
Father. And
Yeah.
so but they allowed me to stay at Holy Cross and to finish and to get my degree. Now, who else went to Holy Cross at that time? Tony Fauci.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Right.
So Tony was actually graduating when I was there, and I would have known him because I was in the priesthood side of it. So I lived in a black garb and lived with the Jesuits, not with the students, until after I was relieved of those duties. Um, and so Tony Fauci has taken a lot of hits, some from me actually, but I have so much respect for him. He's such a decent human being. He's a runner. He's just a delightfully good fellow. And so he was at NIH when I was there. He was working on HIV. I was trained as a head and neck surgeon. So I was doing head and neck surgery primarily at Bethesda and at the National Institute of Health. And so that's how I would run into Tony more and more. Patients would come in with a lymph node that needed to be excised. I would do it. It would be his patient who ultimately turned out to be HIV positive. Back in those days, though, Jim, we didn't know what HIV was. It was just a lymph node that was weird architecture. And then, of course, as time progressed, it became HIV. So it was a thrilling place. It still is because the research quality, I think, is what's so important. And I'm going to make a point to your listeners and viewers. So if you see an article that says latest research, uh, um, peach seeds ground up will cure cancer, and they have an article for it. And it was partly funded by the National Peach Foundation. Okay, so, I mean, I'm being silly here, but you get my point. So
Yeah.
so many of those research programs have been funded by people
Right.
who would gain financially.
So like a
NIH,
lobbying group sort of situation.
absolutely. NIH is notoriously, I'm not saying that they're impeccable, but they are notoriously clean in terms of keeping their research at the highest standard of double blind, what we call double blind placebo control. I mean, if it comes out of there, it's pretty darn good, and you can count on it. So I I took great pleasure in being part of it. Not that I contributed a great deal at all, but I was honored to be there. And I really enjoyed the fact that the standards of decency and ethics
Mm.
were straight up. And to what I can gather, they still are. I mean, I'm not affiliated with them now at all, but back then I was, and it was a great institution to be with.
One of the things that you talk about, which I've heard so much about in my study and research, in terms of our own health and wellness, um, and it's one of the most important words in human health, and that's inflammation. Um,
Ah,
Tell us about that and why that is, because oftentimes a lot of the illnesses and diseases and issues we end up having in life are a result of inflammation within the body.
So I have to start with a question to you. Is this a setup? I mean, are you a physician? Are you a research physician and you happen, who knows that stuff? Who
I look
knows
like
that?
one, don't I?
Yeah, you do. You do. You do. And I could say I am one, but I slept in Motel 2 last night. So, so the reason I say that to you, Jim, is because you could have
Do,
brought
do
up.
you have Western Union? I'll send you the other four, so you'll have six.
I would like that. Honestly, there isn't a medical question that you could have thrown that would be more pertinent to everything. Well, not everything, Tom, not to diabetes, everything. So here's what I'd love to explain. That inflammation, the word inflammation, flammo, heat, fire, inflammation is the source of every disease that you could name. No, that's not true. Is that really true? Yes. So I have diabetes. I have insulin dependent diabetes. Agent Orange is a toxin, went into my bone marrow and set up inflammation. That inflammation spread to my pancreas, which makes insulin, and destroyed the ability of my pancreas to make insulin. And now I use insulin in a shot, obviously, but the source was an inflamed pancreas, actually pancreatic cells, the islet cells. So what about arthritis? If it ends in itis, it's telling you. It's itis means inflammation. So arthritis, inflammation of joints, all inflammation. Every single Alzheimer's, inflammation of glial cells in the brain. There isn't a disease that doesn't stem from that one simple, poignant word that you just used, which is inflammation. And that's why the source right now in research is wow, how in the world do we cut down on inflammation? What do we do about it? How do we stop it? So, aspirin, it's an anti-inflammatory, anti-inflammationer. Motrin, anti-inflammationer. And on television now, if you watch the news, there are what I call the imabobs. There are so many medications ending in BAB for rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic, whatever. Those are substances that are meant to reduce inflammation, whether it's MS, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, it doesn't matter. That's their whole purpose. And what you'll also hear is people taking antioxidants.
Hmm.
Why do they do that? So, an oxidant, oxygenator, is great. When it's with water and it's on a fence of yours outside that's metal, it will turn to rust. So, oxidizing agents rust. And you don't obviously want your body to rust. My grandmother used to say, if you rest, you rust. She was a
Hmm.
smart lady.
Hmm.
So that rusting phenomenon is really inflammation. That's all it is. It's oxidation of a particular site. And that's the whole focus right now is how do you control that through the immune system? And I'm going to say, I'm going to throw in a little plug. We will get there with time, but right now there is no pill for it because you and I and all of your listeners, we have been trained. Please don't throw tomatoes at me. I'm just the messenger. We have been trained that if you have a problem, the answer is a pill. It's a pill. I have a headache. Oh, well, here's a headache pill. Here's a migraine headache, extra strength pill. Really? Oh, yes. So there's a pill for everything. And what
Yeah.
I think people will find more and more, the body is an orchestra. And because the bass drum isn't tuned, doesn't mean that you throw it out, doesn't mean that there's a pill to fix it or chop it up into pieces. You have to bring the entire orchestra into play. Meaning what? So it's not a pill, might be, but it requires an appetite program that cuts down on, oh, what's that word? Inflammation. Cuts it down, really. An
Mhm.
appetite. What do we know is the best to lower blood markers of inflammation? The Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
We know that as a fact. So avoiding toxins like what? If you're smoking, you might as well get a flamethrower and suck on that. There's nothing worse than the nicotine and the carbon monoxide that's in a
That's a
cigarette.
tough one.
That's a really tough.
You know, it's another
Alcohol.
tough one too.
What?
That fruit cake that people keep passing around since 1967.
Exactly.
That'll
Exactly.
do it.
I'm going to send you
It's that
mine.
same fruit cake that keeps getting sent from house to house since 1967. Nobody eats it. They just get it.
No,
Thank
and
you,
there's and
and
I think
pass it
there's
off.
I think there is only one.
It's
It
only
just goes
one.
from yeah.
That could create a lot of inflammation.
So it really is true. It is
Alcohol.
inflammation,
Yeah.
alcohol. But, and I will say this. Socrates said it years ago. Everything in moderation. Everything, and it's still true today. It is so true. But there is no moderation with cigarette smoke. I'm telling you. Alcohol, sure, there is moderation with that. And, one drink a night is what's prescribed or recommended, and it's fine. Exercise. How many people are doing CrossFit? Now, if you're a CrossFitter and you're 25 and you love it, I'm all for it. If I did 3 nanoseconds of CrossFit, this show would be at the morgue. You'd be seeing me there. So, what's the best exercise? Walking. Really? Yes. How often? Every day. If you eat, you exercise. I like machines. Okay. What's the easiest machine to use? One that you'll use repeatedly. For me, it's a
Yeah.
rowing machine because
The
I
rowing.
I don't injure my joints as much. So the rower is fabulous for me. But you like treadmills, do it. But come on, really a marathon? I did triathlons when I was younger. I, I am paying for it now. So we have to be gentle. And
Yeah.
I think the other thing is the mind. You have to sleep. You have to want to live, and you want to be happy. GAGE.
Gauge. Yeah. Yeah. That is so important. It really,
Yeah.
really is. You know, when you look at your life, when you look at all these experiences, and there's many, many more in the book, folks, that we haven't even tapped
Right.
into. We don't want to give it all away because it's very riveting. And there's a lot of things that, that you dealt with early on in your life that left, indelible marks and things that are shocking and surprising. And it's all in the book, folks. But, there's a lot of blessing and joy in your life. And it seems as though you've
Really.
gone through the tunnels and came out the other side with this real deep appreciation for what matters most in life and a true empathy for others and this understanding of the human condition and the fact that all of this is fragile, it's precious. None of it comes with an extended warranty or a guarantee. And if anything, we've learned in the last 14, 15, 16 months is that is so true. And if you're going to be miserable and aggravated and frustrated and hating on everybody all the time, that's gonna wear you out pretty
Oh,
prematurely, and
tremendous.
nobody is going to be there. There was this cartoon that I saw in the paper that I referenced, and it was really, really cool. It was talking about social media, and it was this cartoon of a casket, and a man and a woman, husband and wife, looking at the casket, and these rows and rows of chairs behind them. And all you saw was like one other guy sitting in the back row, just quietly in the chairs. So you had the one guy in the back, you had these rows of empty chairs, you had the couple standing in front of the casket, and the wife says to the husband, gee, I would have, and it was the guy's funeral, of course, I would have expected a bigger turnout considering he had 2,000 Facebook friends.
Right. And how appropriate for today. Isn't that the truth? I mean, wow.
You've got to really cherish, relationships, and your body, as you know, is your temple, right? Without health, everything else just goes away. Yeah.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And I think you hit on it. I'm not going to keep you. I know it's past your bedtime, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. Look what they're saying. Juanita in South Africa says this is the most interesting conversation. Loving it. To show you some of the comments that are coming in. Maureen says, I am certified in orthopedic nursing. I'm finding this conversation so interesting. Thanks, Doc. Yeah, they're loving it.
That's nice. That's really nice. I was going to say that we've talked about a number of different things to focus on, but you hit on one just a moment ago that was really paramount, because in people who, or anybody who reads the book, they will see the anger that I had, and the parents who were just totally, well, I won't even go any further than that, but and yet you hit on one that the book ends on, and I'm kind of giving it away, but I think there's more to it, so people would still enjoy it. But I talked about, how do you survive? How do you survive illnesses? But one of the ones that I left till the end was the magic word that you used just a couple of minutes ago, and that was forgiveness. Because I think anger is probably the heaviest sword that you can carry, and one that you will stab yourself with a million times. I remember the old phrase years ago, on revenge. If you're plotting revenge, dig 2 graves. And it's so true, because it eats away at us. And that's how the book ends, talking about focusing on an ability to forgive, including, I think most importantly, ourselves.
That is so important. It really, really is, because, they say that they teach that you've got to forgive yourself and forgive others. And that's almost in line with the acceptance, not as easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't come as easy as maybe some of these other things
really
do, right?
Hard. Exactly. Yes.
So how did you get to that point to be able to do that?
I actually couldn't do it myself. Again, I'll give you a little quick story. Because I was having problems with sleep and a number of different things because of Vietnam, I contacted a friend in California who's a psychiatrist. And so we would talk by Zoom and whatever was available on the phone. And at one point I had said to him, that these things occurred, and acceptance is really, really hard. And I still had a lot of anger. And here was a phrase, and maybe this will help one of the listeners. If it does, please take it. It's more than a gift. It really is used by me an awful lot. It's another one of my mnemonics, not mine, but one that.
He disappeared. Oh no, where did he go? Where did the doctor go? I guess his Wi-Fi must have been kicking out. I almost want to hear what he was going to say, don't you? Well, hopefully he'll come back in. If he can hear us, just go back in through the link that, here he comes.
I didn't touch it.
He's a doctor. He knows how to fix it. The doctor, he knows how to fix it.
I didn't touch a thing.
Did you rub the crystal ball? Did that bring you back in? You're like, I'm going to tell you the most incredible thing you'll ever hear in your entire life, Jim and Lovities.
Yeah,
it's all in the book. It's all in the book.
Send $1 to Dr. Tom.
P.O. Box.
No. But in any event,
talk about a teaser and a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that was terrible. So I talked to Jeff, and I still had the anger and wasn't sleeping well, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll relate the scenario with my friend Jeff, the psychiatrist. And Jeff said to me, "I want to ask you about." I was telling him about anger that I had with my parents and all. They were terrible. Okay, and then he said, "Your brother Mark, that you write about in the trouble." I said, "Yes, he was a godsend for me. I took care of him from my parents wanted nothing to do with him, so I did all sorts of things, disimpacted him, fed him through his tube, walked him. He was total cerebral palsy. I mean, not to be crass, but he never spoke, never did anything, but he could use his eyes, so we communicated by our eyes. And so Jeff said to me one day, he said, "So I have to ask you, you took care of him. You came home from school. You didn't go out and play hoops with the friends in the neighborhood. You took care of your brother Mark." I said, "Yeah." He said, that must have been terrible." I said, No, no, he was the love of my life. He was the only love I had in my life. I cherished him." He goes, "No, no, Tom, let's get real here. Let's get real. You didn't go out and play with your friends. You didn't get to do what you wanted to do on weekends. You didn't get to watch television. You took care of your brother in the face of two parents who wanted very little to do with him." He said, "That was horrendous." And I sort of took offense at that a little bit. And I said, Jeff, I'm not understanding where you're going with this, because I loved him and he could do no better. There was nothing better that he could do. He all he could do was wrinkle his upper lip and blink his eyes. That was the best he could do."
Mm.
And Jeff stopped and he said, "Oh, okay. Let me go back. Your parents, you are where you are today, despite what went on there, because of them." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, is it possible that that's the best they could do?" And of course it was. It was a simple answer to a point, but one that I hadn't thought of before. He said, that was the best they could do. You weren't going to change them. They weren't going to suddenly become saints. They weren't going to be ideal Ozzie and Harriet. This was the best they can do. But hey, you're alive. You've been educated. You think for yourself. That's the best they could do. So I
Mm.
use that phrase more times than I can tell you. If I'm on the highway and somebody cuts in front of me, and I'm like, if I were in a jet right now, I would laser you. You would be nothing but dust. And I
Laser.
go, well,
Yeah.
that's right. That's the best you can do. I got it. That's the best you can do.
Yeah.
And I tend to use that phrase a lot for me, not for them, because it cuts down on my anger. And so I give that to the audience. Try it sometime just for fun. That's the best they can do.
That's the best they can do.
Yeah.
Right. It takes the heat off. It lowers the blood pressure, and right, exactly. It cuts a little slack because if you're that person that cuts you off on the highway, um, is gone. They they
Right.
they're oblivious, and they're going to do it to,
Correct.
and they're doing it to everybody else along the way on the highway,
Yeah.
or the customer that comes in and makes a ruckus on the checkout line over something minuscule, ties up the line, screams, yells, "I'm suing everybody," and all of that other, and you're sitting there witnessing that, holding your tongue. That's somebody that goes to the next store and the next place. They go to the restaurant, they eat all the food, and they call the chef out of the kitchen and they say, "This was the worst meal I've ever eaten in my
Right.
life. And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell everybody." And meanwhile, everything's been eaten except the
Right.
napkin.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, those are people that
Yeah.
just go through life doing, trying to get in and get over on people. But there is karma, and that stuff catches up. It could catch up, in ways where you've got a lot of
Yeah.
built-in anger that just eats away at your body, right? And then you're an unhappy person looking back saying, "Now, why did I live my life that way?"
Yeah. And why wasn't I able to deal with it and put it behind me? I'm going to bore you just for a couple of minutes before my daughter comes in here and says, "Dad, I got to go to bed." But there is a great story of a Chinese monk, a Buddhist monk, with his young student monk, and they were walking back to their temple over a weekend where they do not speak and they do not ever talk to a woman. And they came to a river, and there was a beautiful young Asian woman there in her wedding gown crying. And the old monk walked over to her and said, What's wrong? How can I help you?" And she said, "It's my wedding day. I need to cross the river, but I can't get across. My dress is going to be ruined, and I don't know what to do." And she's tearful. And the monk said, "I will help." And he picked her up in his arms, and he
Mm,
walked her across the river and put her down on the other side. And
yeah.
she kissed him on the cheek and said, "I can't thank you enough," and went her way. And the two monks continued to walk for about 2 or 3 hours. And finally, the young monk pulled on the monk's sleeve and said, "I'm sorry for breaking the talking fast, uh, master, but why did you pick up that woman and carry her and allow her to kiss you?" And the monk turned and said, "I put her down 3 hours ago. Why can't you?"
Mm,
I
wow.
love that story.
That is amazing.
Learning to put down. It's a
That's
really
what you've
important
got to,
thing.
that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know
Yeah.
who also loved this conversation tonight, Tom? George Burns was in the house tonight.
Oh, George, my favorite. My
Everybody,
favorite.
yeah, everybody says that when I
Oh my
bring out the
God.
George, everybody's like, "What? There he
Yeah.
is."
Oh my,
Yeah,
I can't imagine where you got that. George and Gracie. Just as great.
it's a
Oh
family
my
heirloom. My
goodness.
aunt,
I'll bet.
one of my mother's sisters collected dolls, and this is one of those real rare collector
Yeah.
ones, and it came
Yeah.
out when he turned 100, and they
Oh
had a limited
wow.
edition of these, and there he is with his. Don't show the doctor, but there's his cigar.
No, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. That's a great. That's a legacy. Got to keep passing that down to the family. Yeah.
And the other thing too that's very important, some of the best medicine you can have, as George knew. Remember, he played God in the movie. I always say this
Sure.
whenever I show this to the guests and surprise them with it. They love it, and it lightens the load a little bit. Levity, laughing at the
Yes.
world, laughing at yourself, as George knew, as we know. Laughing releases those feel good endorphins, and
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
important to take the frown off and get a smile going. That can work wonders, right?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
It's
So that
important to laugh and smile.
so the next time that you see me, you'll know me on the street because you're going to see me with my, what color do you think? Red, blue, or yellow hat. It says a
Ah,
levity.
well, my favorite color is green. That's a
Okay.
positive color. So
There you go. There you go. Look for the green
um,
hat.
look for that green hat. And with the last name like Masters, I already have the green jacket
You
or a green
do.
jacket.
Yeah.
Maureen says, "Do you want to know what else lowers your blood pressure?" JMS Live and spending time in Levity Hall. Thank you, Tom, for being here tonight and sharing your amazing journey through life. And I tell you,
What a nice thing to say.
he
Thank
really
you.
just scratched the surface, folks. The book really is. It's a page turner and very eye opening and very empowering in many ways. It restores hope and restores faith. First he's taking you down one road and you think, oh, how is this going to turn out? And then you find out some amazing things that happen. And who watches us in Jacksonville, Florida. And she has some wonderful things to say. She says, "Thank you, Dr. Schneider, for such an interesting and informative evening. My late husband was stricken with Guillain-Barré at 65 months
Hmm.
after retirement. He spent his time serving our
Wow.
community, which is a beautiful thing to
Thank
have
you,
done as
Anne.
well."
Yeah. What a
And
nice
in
thing to say.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Juanita in South Africa says, "This was amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Schneider, for spending time with us. Love the stories and insights. So inspiring." From
What
Juanita
a
in
nice
South
thing to say.
Africa. And Alessandra in North Carolina, thank you so much, Dr. Tom. Everything you have said has helped me a lot.
Oh,
She's been
great.
going through some struggles lately, and so she really thanks you as well. And And then Cynthia, who's in Washington, D.C., says in D.C. traffic, you cut someone off in a traffic, they will point a weapon at you these days. So she's, it's
She's right. She's
and it's
so
a
right.
whole new
Yeah.
world these days, I tell you. So you got to
Yeah.
just, you just got to, keep going forward, and just keep living. You got to live, you just got to live. And I
You
kept
gotta want
saying
to.
that there was a meeting of a couple of things that happened with this pandemic. Planet Earth, Mother Nature, and the
Mhm.
divine came together and said, you know what? You guys, you humans are fouling this whole situation up with the violence and the hatred and everything. And we're going to throw some heavy duty things at you. And we're going to do it in the start of the decade. Economic, pandemic, societal, political, all of it together, and see how you guys,
You're
if
right.
you rise from the ashes, more empathetic, more caring. Will there be leaders rising to the occasion, everyday people doing things to help one another? And it's really been extraordinary. And your career and all the things that you've done has certainly aided in that. You're amazing. And this book again is something. How did it? What before we go? What was that writing process like? I mean, you were
Brutal.
literally opening up your
Yeah.
world and sharing your world with the world, and not always an easy thing to do.
You are too darn insightful because you're right. It was a year and a half of a lot of sweaty nights. Nobody's asked me that, but yeah, it was. I'm glad that it's over, but it
Yeah.
wasn't easy. Yeah,
Is
thank you.
there another one in the offing?
There is. There's going to
Oh,
be another one. Yeah, I wrote another book 4 years ago called A Physician's Apology,
I
and
heard about that one. Yeah, yeah.
Physician's Apology, which is kind of a fun book for people because it cuts through so many of the myths that unfortunately are out there. And I'm speaking frankly, they're out there primarily for the financial gain of companies, pharmaceuticals, doctors. And so I tend to slam them quite a bit. It's not a very popular book in the medical profession, obviously, but it's a fun read.
Want to show you. Jane says, now, Tom, get on a flight to Sweden. I have much to learn from you. Thank you for tonight. She's
How
booking you in
nice.
Sweden.
How
Cynthia in DC, you're
nice.
such a blessing to listen to, Dr. Thomas. Thank you for sharing your wonderful wisdom with us tonight. God bless you. And Kathy Short in Cleveland, terrific chat tonight. Thanks for sharing so much with us, Dr. Tom. And Jen Barry in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Thank you for spending time with us. Tom, this was sensational. Obviously, you have a lot of blessings and joys in your life, and you're aware of
Yeah.
those, and that's what keeps you going and wanting to share. And I certainly hope that this show here, the Jim Masters Show Live, met whatever expectations you had, and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you.
It was wonderful, Jim. I really, the pleasure was entirely all mine. You were superb. That's the only thing I can think. Just superb. Anytime, be delighted to be on any place, even
Well,
Sweden.
even in Sweden, that's right. And
Oh my gosh, yeah.
North
Golly.
Carolina says you got to stop to North. Alessandra says you got to stop in North Carolina first before you go to Sweden.
Okay,
They're
sounds
booking
good.
you for appearances. They want Doctor House calls, I guess.
I
Do you
guess.
still have the black bag?
I do. I do actually. It's a little
That's
tattered, but I do. Yeah,
it's
I'd
a little
love to see
tattered.
them all.
Well,
Again, so many, many, many thanks. And to your listeners too. I really love this.
the pleasure is all mine, and I hope you'll spread the word about the Jim Masters
I
show. We would really
promise.
appreciate that. And thank you, daughter, for assisting with the technology. We love
She
that.
was
She
great,
was
wasn't she? Yeah.
spot on. And
She was great.
we'll definitely keep the porch light on for you, my friend. This really was an epic conversation.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so, so much. Be well. Be well.
You too. Take care, Tom.
Yes,
And the
sir.
book itself is available at Amazon, right? People can get it at
Yes.
Amazon and
Yes.
all
Yeah.
the usual places. All right.
Yes, sir.
You have a good night, Tom.
You too.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Bye bye now. All right. Dr. Tom Schneider. Amazing conversation, right? There are a lot of poignant moments in the book that we didn't go into because I didn't want to give it all away, where he really reveals even more about things that happened to him um, in his youth. And some of it is very, very riveting. And then, of course, just throughout his entire life, we scratched the surface on just some of it. The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man Surviving When Life Sucks, a memoir by Dr. Tom Schneider, MD. He was actually in Indianapolis, Indiana. He doesn't live in Indianapolis. They're on the road right now. He's with his family. He and his daughter and the family are looking at colleges for his daughter. So they were in Michigan, they're in Indiana right now, and they're traveling. That's why he kept making references to the motel in jest, because they've been traveling for the last year almost, it seems. He said, looking at the different schools and making choices for his daughter's education, which is kind of cool. She's leaning, I think, she's towards George Washington University, I think, when I asked him off camera. But that's why they're in Indianapolis. But he's in the the greater DC sort of area normally. But fascinating, right? Again, the book really is riveting. I didn't want to give away too much of it because, obviously, if you get the book, you can learn more. But fascinating conversation, and he really opened up about the things that he experienced in his life and some of the things that he's gone through. Dr. Tom Schneider, author of The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man Surviving When Life Sucks. And there are days when it does. So, you just got to do what you can do and keep moving forward and just really, make the most of everything and every day, right? We talk about that all the time. Sometimes we have entertainers on the show that are singing and dancing and twirling, and sometimes we have inspiring conversations like tonight. This I would consider under the heading of our lifestyle portion of what we do, entertainment, lifestyle, talk show series. We would file this episode under the lifestyle portion of JMS Live. Really, really enjoyable conversation. Like I said, every episode of the Jim Master Show Live is something different, something unique. We always have a good time. There's always levity. We always learn something new. And that's what life's all about. It's pretty cool, right? Spread the word about our show. Jane in Sweden says, thank you, Jim, for a great and interesting show tonight. Thank you very much, Jane. You have a good night there in Sweden. And in South Africa, this episode gets a wowee from me. Fantastic, Juanita. Perfect. We love that. Jen Barry in Allentown, PA says, can we have him back? Absolutely. He already said he can't wait to come back. Alessandra sent an email. We'll have to check that out. Thank you, Alessandra. The ocean, beautiful, and even more beautiful tomorrow because it's going to feel like 105 degrees, they said tomorrow. Right now, it's about 80 degrees and nice. Although the central air conditioning system has been on all day. Maureen says, in my humble opinion, Dr. Tom is anything but an ordinary man. Definitely extraordinary. I agree. I absolutely agree. He's done extraordinary things in a very humble way. You guys are the best. We thank you very much for joining us. Just want to show you as well. And again, his book, there it is again. You can get it at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and other great places. Look for The Extraordinary Life of an Ordinary Man Surviving When Life Sucks. It helps restore faith in humanity and in yourself as well. We thank Dr. Tom Schneider for joining us. Tomorrow, we've got an amazing guest. Film and television actor Rico Anderson is going to be with us live from Hollywood. He's all excited. He's going to be with us coming up. We cannot wait to have him on the show tomorrow. That's Thursday Night Live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Then on Friday, we've got extraordinary composer and lyricist Thomas Tierney with us. Don't you love on the right that fantastic, beautiful, beautiful drawing of him? It's almost like a painting. That's him at the piano. He really is extraordinary and a humble man as well. He's going to be with us. Lots of great music and more with Thomas Tierney, the composer and lyricist, going to be with us on Friday. Then we have 2 shows on Saturday. Again, another double Lovity day. We have award-winning actor, writer, and director Harley Whalen. He's going to be with us on Saturday in the afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And then live from Australia, dear friend of mine, extraordinary singer and actress, live from Australia. We actually worked on a PBS television special together with our mutual friend, composer Tim Janis, called Celtic Heart. We spent a couple of days filming in beautiful York, Maine. It aired on PBS. I worked with the team. Ella was one of the performers, along with Renee Nesbitt and the Harp Twins and Amir McGoon and so many others. And she's a brilliant singer and actress, beautiful voice. Ella Roberts will be with us live from Australia Saturday night, which will be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. It'll be 10 a.m. Sunday for her because Australia is ahead of us. So it'll be actually 10 a.m. Sunday in Australia this weekend when it's 8 p.m. here Eastern in the United States and 5 p.m. Pacific. So for everybody watching in the United States, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Those in Australia, it'll be 10 a.m. Sunday for you guys. And check your local listings. Ella's amazing. She's with us on Saturday. Then on Monday, we have the founder of the Celtic rock band Black 47 and author of an incredible, riveting book, Rockaway Blue. Larry Kerwin's going to be with us next Monday. A wonderful actor who was in the House of Cards. Remember House of Cards, Hot Summer Nights, and Star. Brian Kurlander is going to be with us next week. Rebecca and James Ganner is going to be with us, executive producers of the new beautiful Christmas movie, Christmas film, Emmy nominated, Rekindling Christmas. They're award-winning directors, producers. I mean, they've been in this for a long time. Live from Hollywood, Rebecca and James, husband and wife team, they're going to be with us and talking about this new Christmas movie. They've done a lot of work with a lot of the networks, and they're going to be with us. And she is a prolific best-selling author. And this movie, Rekindling Christmas, is based on one of her novels. And also coming up soon, Samantha Taylor. She's a pop and country music singer and musician. She's going to be with us next week as well. And we're really looking forward to having Samantha on the show. Samantha is amazing. And again, she's all excited. So we have lots of great guests. Oh, we also have Dr. Annabelle Bugatti. She's going to be with us next week as well. A relationship expert, licensed marriage and family therapist and psychotherapist. Going to talk about relationships and love and living and life and so much more. Again, another one of our lifestyle segments on our Entertainment Lifestyle Talk Show series. So you got entertainment and movies and life and television and film and music and all kinds of cool stuff with amazing guests. We've been working really hard to share with you. Rico Anderson is tomorrow night, film and television actor. We look forward to him joining us here on the Jim Master Show Live, and that's just scratching the surface, just scratching the surface. Thanks for being with us, Cynthia in Washington, D.C., in our nation's capital. Wishing all the lovelies and you, Jim, sweet dreams, peace, and warm hugs. We love it. And night from Juanita. And good night, dear Lovity family. Absolutely. The book does sound fascinating. Thank you for a great show as always. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good having you with us as well, Cynthia. You want a pop-up show in the ocean? That photo that I posted on Facebook where I'm floating in the ocean, I'm actually floating in the Atlantic Ocean, and that was in Miami. That was in Miami at Miami Beach, and the water was about 92 degrees, and it was incredible. So my feet are facing Cuba, and I'm floating in the ocean in Miami. We were on a television shoot at that time, and it was during a little bit of a break, and I love the ocean, so we were in the Atlantic, and that shot where you see my feet and legs sticking out of the water is in the warm Atlantic in Miami, Florida, in Miami Beach. Great show, Jim. What's left of it? Enjoy what's left of it. Absolutely. Thank you for being with us as well. And everybody that's here. Good night, Alessandra. What a smattering of amazing guests coming to Lovity Hall. Absolutely. And Christine says hello and good night to you as well, Christine. And check out our archives, of course, as well. You guys are the best. An amazing, amazing episode. Again, something different every single episode. And I like it that way. I don't like the same old, same old. You know, I don't like the same types of things every day and every night. This is what keeps us, it's the spice of life when we have a lot of cool different things going on the Jim Master Show Live. Thanks to Dr. Tom. And thanks to all of you. We will be back tomorrow with Rico Anderson live from Hollywood. It's going to be amazing. Looking forward to that. He is all excited as well. And so are we. So you guys are the best. Thanks for all these great comments. Just taking a look at all these amazing comments that we have here. And I just really appreciate it. You guys are really fantastic. So we wish you well, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening. We'll be back tomorrow. All right. We love you all. Thanks for joining us in this episode of the Jim Master Show Live. One more comment coming in here. Priceless, just awesome. Cool new photo you've got. I like your profile photo in your YouTube account there. Really, really nice, Jen. Good night to you, Alessandra. Good night, my friends. Have a peaceful slumber night. Hugs and more hugs to everyone. You as well, Maureen. Great comments from you, Maureen, as well tonight. I know you enjoyed this episode working in the medical field as well. You guys are the best. All right. We are going to wrap up, and we say thanks for being with us. We love you all. We'll see you tomorrow on the Jim Masters Show Live. Thanks for being with us. Have a good night.